Hello everyone, it's Mizuki Arts. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over my full creative process, starting with step 1, which is planning. I know it's been a little while since I've been active on this channel. I've been really sick. You can probably hear it in my voice, but I managed to catch 2 viruses in 1 month, and then I got a sinus infection, which I'm getting treated for right now. But yeah, I decided to just record the full process for an illustration from idea to finished product. And if you saw before, I was a lot more ambitious when I first started with this. I wanted it to be 3D if you were looking at the thumbnails I put out. But here, I'm just mixing some colors to kind of get an idea of how I want this piece to be colored. I don't always pay this much attention to detail, but I wanted to mess with the tones of this to make sure the colors were different enough. If you saw before, I didn't really give myself enough time to explain that, but you saw the black and white shots on screen. After I was done sketching everything out for the thumbnails, I just went right in on my larger kind of finished piece sketchbook. I keep one sketchbook just for thumbnails and kind of rough ideas, lots of doodles, and that's a sketchbook you see sketches in during my Ko-fi sketch dump posts, and then all of my finished projects are done in a Canson mixed media or watercolor sketchbook. Sometimes I use Grumbotch too. It really depends on how I feel. And I decided to begin this sketch, and I struggled a lot with the eyes. As you'll see, I kind of like redraw them and rework them multiple times. Eyes are something I kind of have a love-hate relationship with, because I mean they're the windows to the soul, and how you draw them can really say a lot about you as an artist, and I think because of that I put too much pressure on it and I end up ruining them. And then once I was done with the sketch, I decided to go in with the line art. But first I want to say a quick thank you to Ashley on Ko-fi. Thank you so much for your support, Ashley. I really appreciate it. I thought about just skipping the line art for this piece. I kind of go through phases with my art where line art feels like really scary. It's kind of like I get insecure and just doubt I can do line art at all. And you'll see I mess up the line art a little bit here, just with her head. It just kind of looks wonky. I'm not sure how that happened, but I missed something in the sketch that was off, and because of that the line art looks really kind of strange. But I think the eyes look okay, which is important after struggling with them so much. I really do struggle with line art quite a bit. It's something that I've tried to kind of battle back and forth with, because sometimes it's really fun. Sometimes you can do like a lot with line and make things really interesting, and other times it just feels more like an obstacle that makes art less fun. So you'll see, if you follow me for a little while, you'll see I mess around with like not doing line art at all and just painting over my sketches. And sometimes my relationship with line art is a little bit better, where I can kind of use it to create texture and make something really interesting. But after line art, I decide to add some paint, because of course I do. I'm a watercolorist or gouache artist at this point, I guess. I used to use watercolors and gouache together, but now I've just kind of been only using gouache. So, yeah, I use gouache paints, folks. I've been kind of calling myself a watercolorist for years now, because watercolors got me started, and I use gouache similar to watercolors, but I think at this point I'm just a gouache artist. I kind of layer the paints on the face first. Like I tend to like put down this kind of like blushy tone, and then go in with like a main color, and then I shade things. It's kind of, I think it kind of feels like makeup artist types of technique to me, which would make sense because I really gotten into art through customizing dolls and like sculpting dolls. So I focus on the face first when I'm illustrating characters, just because it's kind of like something that's important to me. You'll see I add lots of like this pinkish red around the heart and over the lines for that, because we're going to be cutting out the heart and I don't want there to be like any white showing. You'll also see I made a lot of anatomy mistakes with this. Like I mentioned, I believe I mentioned it earlier in the video, I was sick while filming this, and then I got sick again. So yeah, that's why it's been like a month without videos. But anyways, fun fact, I used a palette that I sculpted myself in this video, and so the clean palette let my colors be like ridiculously bright, and I think despite that color planning, I feel like the colors in this piece look like really weird, and like they're just all kind of the same tone. So yeah, in spite of all that planning, I still made a lot of mistakes in this piece, and you just kind of have to go with the flow with all that. From this point on, I just did some layers. You'll see I emphasized kind of like her eyelids and her like eye bags. I did lots of shading on the face, not that it looks very 3D, and I think you can see here what I mean about her head being kind of wonky. But at this point I was done with the paints and I was ready to add some highlights, and I used gel pen for this. Typically I really enjoy adding the like opaque white onto it. And then finally I was ready to start doing the 3D detailing. I knew at this point I wasn't going to do what was in my thumbnails, which was like this like shoebox technique where I was going to layer things like a diorama. But I think I knew at this point I wanted like lots of fabric and ribbons and stuff in like the heart cutout, and I thought it was really cool that I was going to make like her hands kind of interacting with the 3D space. I'm still really excited about that in spite of like, you know, her wonky face and head. It's kind of, I have mixed feelings about this piece. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. But something I really did enjoy about the process for all this was knowing that it was going to have some like cool 3D effects, and I got to use a X-Acto knife, and I really love X-Acto knives because they're so precise and clean, and you can take something 2D and kind of you know, cut it to pieces and make it interact with something in 3D space because that's how precise it is. I also used the X-Acto knives in my like paper doll projects from like 2021, I believe that was when I made paper dolls. I don't know, but they're in my Ko-fi shop right now, like they're printables, and they were really fun to work on. And now I get to work on the fabric section, and I just glued some ribbons and shredded fabrics onto this piece of brown paper bag and then glued that to the back of the drawing, and I did some like fake shading with blue gouache to give it this kind of like sad, gloomy shadowing along the edge, and then I did some like final touches, and then the piece was done. That's it. That's the finished artwork. That's my full process for a ambitious, strange piece. She still kind of looks a little bit unfinished to me, but I think that's mainly because I made so many mistakes and I was sick the entire time I was working on her. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did. Let me know what you want to see next, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.